This is very intense. So I have something to tell you. In 2004, I was hospitalized where I tested positive for HIV and I was diagnosed with AIDS. And after I got out of the hospital and I thought about having to tell my friends and family about my diagnosis, I would get this extreme emotional reaction that I could feel in my body. My hands would shake and my heart would race and my breathing would become very shallow, just like right this minute. But when I thought about it, it didn't make any sense because all my friends are very open and loving and supportive. So when I felt more deeply into this emotion, what I discovered was it was a very old wound. It was my childhood fear of abandonment. And so for the past 30 years, I've used photography as a way to understand my life, as a way to interpret and explore my experiences. So when I contemplated my new reality, my illness, these overwhelming emotions, I had a moment of inspiration, an idea that if I photographed my friends as I told them about my diagnosis, I might be able to better cope. And by the act of transforming this dreaded moment into a portrait, into art, I might be able to transform these emotions inside myself. So for these portraits, as a backdrop, I used the curtains that hung in the house that I grew up in. They hung in the living room. It was the room where I felt most vulnerable as a child. So in my studio, I hung these curtains. There were 2 chairs. There was a camera on a tripod. I would invite my friends over one at a time to have their portrait made. We would sit facing each other. My hands would tremble as I focused the camera. My heart would race, and I would begin to make photographs, and I would start by saying, I have something to tell you. I've tested positive for HIV, and I've been diagnosed with AIDS. Now, I photographed 47 people for this project, and about the 25th or 26th portrait, I became aware that my physical reactions were starting to change. I was becoming calmer. And by the 47th portrait, I had the realization that no one had said stop. No one had got up and left. Everybody was very brave and willing to have this experience with me. And in the end, I realized that no one had abandoned me. Now, I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who was a part of this project. I'm grateful to modern medicine. I'm grateful to all the modalities that I've used to holistically transform my life. Today, I'm healthier than I've ever been. But in 2007, shortly after I had regained my health physically, but I became aware that I had this deep sense of unease. And this unease came from an awareness that I was now part of a system that I was reliant upon to provide me with medication so that I could stay healthy and alive. And this reliance made me feel incredibly vulnerable. And at times, I feared that the system itself was unsustainable. During this period, I had the great fortune to attend a Native American ceremony, and I met a Native American ritualist named Timothy White Eagle. And he became my collaborator on a project called The Return. So at this ceremony, I met Phoenicia Medrano and J.P. Hartsong. And when I first laid eyes on Hartsong and Phoenicia, I was completely captivated. I had never seen anything like them. There was a kind of ambiguity to their gender. The clothes that they wore was this amazing story. They had hunted deer. They had taken the hide from the deer. They had transformed it into leather. Then they had beaded these intricate designs and created this amazing shirt. And when I learned that they were living this kind of wild and free nomadic life in the western states of the US, untethered from society, there was something about the way they were living that spoke to my deep sense of unease. So I moved west to travel with Phoenicia and Hartsong and other members of their loosely banded tribe. So they're nomadic. They travel with the seasons. They travel north in spring and summer, and they travel south in fall and winter, in a sort of large circular route known as the hoop. And they're striving, in their words, to live a life of beauty, a life of radical sustainability. They strive to live by the principle to give back more than you take. Now, this principle, to give back more than you take, it's the essence of sustainability. So here's how it looks in their life. So roots are a staple of their diet, and they wait till later in the summer to collect roots. The ground is hard and dry, and it's harder to dig, but the seeds are mature and they're ready to be planted. So they dig a hole, they collect the roots, and this is going to be their food for months to come. And then they take the seeds from the top of the plant, they put it back into the earth, and they say this prayer: may there be food for 7 generations to come. This was a revelation to me. It's this beautiful, symbiotic relationship with the earth. As I said, this project is a collaboration with Native American ritualist Timothy White Eagle. And from the start, we didn't want to do a sort of straightforward document of the way they were living. We wanted to create something that spoke to the truths and the beauty of the way they were living. We wanted to do a kind of mythic portrait of a people, a place, and an ideal. We wanted to create images that were new archetypes for a new age. We wanted to create images that we could dream into as a way of discovering our own ways of living sustainably. Thank you.